What's up, everybody? Stefan Martinez, Nicholas Gambaro. Another edition of the Nick and Steph Show is live and ready for your viewing pleasure. You behind me, so I figured we start with. I guess it's news. I guess it's a newsy topic, but we both on this show don't think anything's gonna happen. At least not this season. Russell Wilson, according to Adam Schefter, has not requested a trade, although it was reported by some outlets that he had, and there was some confusion whether or not there was a trade requested already, huh?
Let's go Islanders. We're winning tonight. What's up? We got another new viewer. That's awesome. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, man. Welcome.
I'll talk a little bit on the Islanders-Bruins game tonight. It's big and some other hockey.
Nice. No, but Big Dog, let's start with this. Does he get traded? Like, first of all, we know this came from somewhere. We both believe he's not getting traded. What the thing I want to know is, or the thing I'm curious about is why this report came out in the first place. Who's leaking this stuff? Is it his camp or is it the Seahawks themselves? That is the thing that has me like, what are we looking at here?
Right. That's the $1 million question because we heard, let's go Islanders tonight. Islanders are winning.
Hey.
Welcome to the show. We got new viewers.
Welcome.
A lot of Bruins fans on the show.
Hey.
So the Seahawks, if you remember, right after they got eliminated from the playoffs, there seemed to be an issue Russell Wilson had. I mean, rightfully so. He's their star quarterback with the offensive line. You know, talking about him getting hit constantly, not being protected, and,
right.
Going to Pete Carroll about that. So we knew that was kind of an issue. Other than that, correct me if I'm wrong, he's had no other issues with really the front office or anybody on the roster, nothing like that. There are rumors that his wife, would eventually like to be in a bigger market. So that's kind of maybe where it's stemming from, on the field, where he's not really getting protected. He doesn't have the weapons like he used to have. I mean, I don't know. Are you hearing anything? Because it seems to, like you said, we both agree. There's no way, I think, at least this season he gets traded. But again, the NFL, hey, who knows? Some of the teams he's listed were the Saints, the Bears, Vegas, Dallas. So he came out with a list. What's up, Kayla? It's I don't know. It's a tricky situation in Seattle. But, I mean, I know he loves Pete Carroll. They both have a great relationship. You told me off the air, that he, you're hearing like he loves the city, loves the people, the fans. Like it's not anything like that. So, I mean, what do you think it is? Do you think that has something to do with it? Like him constantly having no protection, him getting – because that playoff game against the Rams, I mean – we couldn't do anything. And there were a few games like that this year. Look at the Giant game. There were others. What's up, Ray? What's up, everybody? Share the show. Like it. Share it. But I'll give the floor to you. What do you think?
I think, honestly speaking, I think it's hard when you have a guy who's been a pillar of the organization for so long, and that's why I think, honestly speaking, I don't see him going anywhere. Just because Pete Carroll already said, "Listen, I'm not going to rebuild. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be the guy at my age that rebuilds with a brand new quarterback." I don't think he does that. I do think that you have to think about this in two ways. Number one, where does he see the Seahawks, and I'm talking about Russell Wilson, in a season from now? Because he's getting older. He's not getting any younger, and
Mm-hmm.
you already starting to see the hits he takes, the wear and tear on his body. Does he realize, okay, we might be headed for a rebuild, and I don't want to really be around for the rebuild? Does his wife play a role in that? I think to a degree, yes, because I think family does play a part in all of this. But I
Sure.
also believe that when you're talking about a guy like Pete Carroll,
Let's go Islanders.
I'm sorry to hear that, Dougie. Praying. Sorry to hear that, man. That stinks. Hope your cat's feeling better. I love the profile picture. And I hope that, things get figured out from, both sides, that both sides are able to come to an agreement. Now, this is the NFL. I do think that eventually we're going to see a trade of some sort because this list didn't come out of nowhere. He's either been, people in his camp have been either thinking about a way to do this, they've been thinking about a way to get him traded. This doesn't come from nowhere, I believe. However, do I think it happens now? No. I think it'd be very hard for it to happen now simply because I don't know if Seattle um I don't know if Seattle is in a position where they can do that or where they want to do that, to be honest. They just gave him a new contract, like I think before the start of last season. So I don't think it's a money situation. I do believe that,
And it's not like Seattle's bad or he's being mistreated. It's not a
right.
DeShaun
And again,
They won the division.
Yeah, but again, I think athletes also they want something new. They want to look at. Thank you, Dougie. I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. I hope it
Sorry,
gets
Doug.
better for you soon. Um, I do think that, it's I do think it's harder to look at a guy and what he's meant to the city and what he's meant to the franchise and assume that he's going to be traded. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
the situation doesn't necessitate that he is traded. So honestly, I just feel like, we have to let these things play out and hopefully, we'll see what happens in a year or two from now. And it's the same thing that's happening with DeShaun Watson. We can sit here and say DeShaun wants to be traded, but for all we know, the Texans aren't trading him. The Texans aren't giving in to his
Even though he
trade
did give a
demand.
list of teams also of teams
He
he wanted
did.
to.
He did, but in all actuality, I just think that stokes the fire of him not being traded. Because
Correct.
you're gonna tell me where to trade you? That's kind of that takes some, some
Shut.
stones. So yeah. I think it's a difficult situation all around, to be quite honest. I don't think it's
Both are
it's
fascinating, but the Russell Wilson thing is kind of like coming out of nowhere. Sort of.
yeah. And look, DeShaun says he's not playing for the Titans, and that's a very, very, damning statement on how the organization has treated its stars in the past. That's a great point
You mean the
by Kayla.
Texans?
You know what I mean. The Texans, I'm
mean,
sorry. That's a damning statement against them because, Andre Johnson has been at this place before with them. JJ Watt, they just flat out released him because they realized he wasn't going to win with them. And so I
know what would be an interesting place, although they have a quarterback now, but imagine him and D-Hop reunite in Arizona, and then you can get like J.J. Watt to go there. That's like a hypothetical thing, but that would be interesting.
Nah, Cliff Kingsbury loves Kyler Murray, so I doubt that
Yeah.
even.
No, but I mean if they didn't have Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I think that there is a serious, situation with DeShaun in terms of. I do think DeShaun. I think that situation's untenable. I think this thing with Russ is them just kicking the tires, going, all right, maybe.
Right.
Maybe. Let's see what it looks like. Let's see what we could get for him. You know. Yeah, no, DeShaun. The thing about DeShaun is gonna have to get resolved one way or the other. But I do believe that the Texans may not trade him this year because that's $21.6 million of dead money that would be on their salary cap if they traded him. So that's a lot of money to give to just say, hey, here, we're gonna just trade you. That doesn't seem feasible from a business standpoint.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe we're misreading it with DeShaun, but I don't think he plays for the Texans again, and I don't think that's a crazy statement to
Like,
make,
I
to
don't
be
think
honest.
it's salvageable relationship. It's definitely not. From what DeShaun Watson clearly is stating, he don't want to play for them at all.
Right.
So, I can see him holding out in August.
Right. You can hold out, but let me put some numbers to you so people understand what a holdout means. Every day he holds out of camp, it's $10,000. And then every game he misses, that's $85,000 every holdout. So if he refuses to play, it does matter because he got it. Then you're not getting paid. So you can say and say the money doesn't matter, but in this sense, the money does matter because at the end of the day, these guys are businessmen. They want to get paid for what they do. They get paid to play a game. And if you're holding out and willing to lose money to prove a point, then God bless you for it. But a lot of these guys don't do that. That's why this DeShaun thing is fascinating because I don't necessarily believe that he's going to leave that money on the table.
Right.
I don't believe that. I could be wrong, but I just don't believe he does at the end of the day because that is that's a tough thing to do, especially when he just signed this new deal. He wants to make money. He just signed a brand new contract. I don't think he just automatically decides I'm going to hold out and the money doesn't matter. From a principle standpoint, I commend him for holding out. But I don't think that plays that means a hill of beans if you're not making salary. He's got money, but with football, you know how this goes. Look, he doesn't want to play for the Texans again. We get it. But I just think it's easier said than done for them to just flip him and realize that you're going to get, if you trade him, you're not going to get everything you want. We agree, Big Dog, because they're talking about 3 first-round picks.
Yeah, you have to get if you're really going to trade this guy, you got to get a lot of significant pieces back.
Right.
And that's the risk that a lot of teams may take if they do trade with Houston, like the Jets, for example, as we've talked about a lot, and other teams. They're going to ask, like Stefan said, at least first-round picks, maybe a really good player or two. So they're going to – and the team on the other side, that's the thing they have to decide. Are we really going to take that risk of giving them all of our draft capital and 1 or 2 very good players, or do we just stick with what we got or draft?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
the other thing that's
is an amazing talent, and look at the numbers he put up with practically no talent around him.
Yeah, 4,823 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. His QBR was 108. His numbers were ridiculous this year.
I would love Russell Wilson on the. That ain't gonna ever happen, but That would be amazing.
Yeah. Maybe, but maybe not. I don't know. We'll see how this all transpires. But I do think that both of these situations correlate to each other in this sense. And here's where I want to tie this all together. And Big Dog, I want your thoughts on this as well as the people watching. Is if one of them gets traded, so whether it's Chicago or New Orleans or wherever, the other one loses leverage because that's another destination they can't get traded to. So
Right.
their list of teams gets smaller, and the likelihood of a trade shrinks dramatically. So the question is, if you're Russell Wilson, you kind of want to see DeShaun either go off the board, so you have a clear cut destination in mind, or vice versa. If you're DeShaun Watson's camp, you're kind of like, let's wait and see what happens here with Russ. Because if Russ gets traded by some unforeseen miracle, then I don't necessarily believe that we're gonna I don't necessarily believe that it does either one of them market a favor. You understand what I'm trying to say? Like they both end up losing in a sense if one guy gets traded and they're like, then the other guy's like, oh, my options are limited. So one camp is hoping for a trade. The other camp is like, we'll wait and see. So we'll see. I just know that we're headed for a very interesting football season, especially after what might transpire this offseason. I'm very intrigued by it. Very intrigued. By the way, guys, I'm
Yeah.
not reading any hockey comments right now because we're talking football. So if there is hockey comments, I'm choosing. I'm not ignoring you. I see them. I'm just not reading them right now because we're not talking
We are
hockey.
going to
Right
talk hockey. We're definitely going to talk hockey, though, for sure.
We
So
will, but
just
we're not just.
stay tuned, keep watching because it will come up because
Right.
a lot is going on in the NHL. So
Right.
we will get into that, no doubt about it.
Right. So as we transition, Big Dog, to something else that I think James will find interesting, as I change the backdrop here. Um, Lakers are 1-5 in their last 6 games.
They'll be there in the end,
Actually,
probably.
yeah, they'll be there in the end, so I don't think it matters.
Is it all because of the Anthony Davis injury?
Yeah, I think that plays a part in it. I do think that plays a big part in it because I do think that if Anthony Davis is not healthy, then we're having a completely different discussion on what they can do this season. So I'm fascinated with, do the Lakers go out and get a big man? Do you go out and get an Andre Drummond? Do you go out and sign a Blake Griffin to a 1-year deal? Do you turn around and trade for Julius Randle, who's at an All-Star caliber season until AD gets back to pair him with LeBron? Like I want to see what the Lakers do. I don't know what it looks like, but I know that the Lakers definitely do need to make a move before we get to June. And look,
What's up, Mike?
there was an interesting article in the LA Times by the great Bill Plaschke when he said that LeBron needs to conserve his minutes and play less minutes and understand that the goal is not for now, the goal is for June. And I agree with Elliot Plaschke. I do think that Yeah, they have no shooting, which we already knew, but I do think that they and the Nets, as Kayla just pointed out, it looks like they and the Nets um would be fighting for a big man. I don't know necessarily how that translates, but I do think that, look, you and I both know that if LeBron got anything to say about what happens in the end, the Lakers are going to be there in the end, whether we want to believe it or not. Honestly, if Anthony Davis comes back healthy, I think the Nets and Lakers are going to be the NBA Finals, and that's going to be a compelling NBA Finals from the
I
standpoint
agree.
that I want to see what both sides do to augment the rosters from now till June, because the trade deadline is March 25th. We're a month out, and you're looking at it going, what do you do to upgrade the roster? And right now, it seems like the Lakers definitely know they need some shooting. I think that's obvious. I think the Nets were like another big man. I think that's obvious. But I don't if the Lakers see, but I don't know if New Orleans will just trade him for cheap. And JJ Redick wants to be on the West Coast. I mean the East Coast. He wants to be in Boston or Philly or New York or Brooklyn. So I don't think JJ would necessarily re-sign with the Lakers. And if you're the Lakers, that is a gamble. Do me a favor, big dog. Can you go on your phone real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm hearing these guys are talking about Adam Pellick just got traded, and I don't believe that. So can you just double check? Yeah, I don't agree. I don't think JJ necessarily fits there, but I think that he would okay a trade there because he wants to be closer to home. But if I'm the Lakers, James, I definitely take a shot. These guys are saying that Elliot Friedman reported that Adam Pellick was traded. I don't buy it, but
I don't see that. I'm looking.
I don't. Anyways,
No.
so
Yeah,
you
I'm on
guys
his
are just
official Twitter, and
guys.
no.
That's not guys. You can't be stirring the chat like that, especially when we're trying to get through something. That's not cool. Um, but I um I think the Lakers are in a very interesting spot just because I do think that eventually they'll figure it out. And if you're LeBron, you kind of want to play for your teammates that are there right now. You kind of want to play for the guys that are there. You don't want to just abandon your teammates, knowing that they need you to play in, especially with no Anthony Davis. And hey, man, that's like I said, take a shot, and take a shot, and we'll see what happens. But like I said, I think the Nets and Lakers are going to be fighting for some shooting. And I think, listen, not to placate Kayla, but I think her Sixers are going to have something to say at the end too. Because unless the Nets get a big man, Joel Embiid against that Nets lineup, which is rather relatively small, that's going to be hard for the Nets to deal with on most nights. So look, I'm excited to see how everything shakes out and what happens with um both these teams. And look, you got a bunch of teams in the league that are kind of they're kind of searching for stuff. Like some guys are looking for a big man, some guys are looking for shooting, some guys are, you know what I mean? So every organization is looking for something different. And I just like the fact that, I mean, that's your opinion, James, but I think that you gotta put them there. Right now, they're the best team in the Eastern Conference by far, and I know that's not saying much, but I think that's we got to give credit where credit is due.
Can I
Right
ask a
now,
question? I'm sorry to
yes,
cut you
please.
off, and I'm not
No,
trying to, Taylor. This isn't a shot. I'm legitimately asking.
right.
I don't follow the NBA like you do, or Kayla or James, but the 76ers always seem to me like a great, great team on paper put together. But why can't they get to the finals? Are they like missing a piece? Is it coaching? What do you think it is with the Sixers? Because they always seem to be at the top of the East or close to it.
I think that a lot of it is the lack of Ben Simmons having a decent jump shot, because then you put all the pressure on everybody else to score from the outside. Where Ben Simmons is great at getting to the rim, he's great at creating shots for people, but his shot itself isn't consistent enough where you look at the Sixers and go, if Ben Simmons ever tried to develop a semi jump shot, I would have a bigger, I'd have more belief in the Sixers. And Joel's playing like an MVP candidate right now. Joel Embiid is he's playing like an MVP candidate. So I think that that's something that we have to look at. But I also think that if you're Doc Rivers, you'd love more shooting if you could get it. But I think that the Sixers, I like what they look like on paper, but I just don't know if Ben's the guy that can create shots for himself to take the pressure off of Joel. But that's just me. No, I agree with that too. I agree that the Sixers play defense, but ultimately, I don't trust Ben Simmons in a big game. That's why I have reservations about whether or not Ben Simmons could be the point guard that leads this team to a championship. But the Sixers have all the ingredients to get there, especially in a severely compromised Eastern Conference other than Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn and the Sixers to me are the two best teams in the East. And I don't even think it's a question at this point in time. The question is who augments the roster more? Does Brooklyn go out and get a JJ Redick to complement, put more on the bench? Do the Nets get a big man? Does Philly, like Kayla just said, do they augment the bench? Do they finish off these rosters to put themselves in a position to get themselves ready for an NBA Finals run? And that's, I think, the question that we have to ask ourselves, moving forward. But I don't know, man. I'm intrigued to see what a team like Boston does, because Boston's really scuffling, and Danny Ainge, we know him to be this guy who has a treasure trove of draft picks.
Right.
What do you do with the draft picks? But we'll see. But on to the rink, man. I'm very excited for this. You got some hockey updates for us. So I want to know what you got, cooking tonight, and what you researched for us. So, man, the floor is yours, bro.
All righty. Is the internet bad on your end, or is it just me? Am I freezing too? Yeah.
Nah, you're glitching.
Well, we'll push it through here. So, yeah, it's like good, but then it's bad sometimes. I don't know. Sorry about that, but I don't know why that's happening. So up north in Canada, big news. Claude Julien gets fired, Montreal Canadiens head coach, since the 2016 season. Also, they fired Kirk Muller, their associate coach, who actually had some success with them in the bubble. If you remember, they beat Pittsburgh in 5 games. They made it interesting with the Flyers in the next round. Um, while Claude Julien some heart issues, 17, he took over. Claude Julien, overall, he had a 129 wins, 123 losses, and 35 overtime losses. And then this year they had 9 wins, 5 losses, and 4 overtime losses. Now, at first I was shocked because they got off to that really hot start in the beginning. Tyler Toffoli was a madman on a mission, scoring like basically every game. And it was a shock. But, I mean, that record, I mean, they do have, if you combine the regulation losses and OT losses, basically they're 9-9, which isn't great. And to kind of put it into a comparison, historically, the Yankees and Canadians are similar. They both have the same amount of, close to the same amount of championships. You know, the Yankees 27, Montreal 24. So they go, you know, this situation seemed to me because on Hockey Central today, they were interviewing a reporter from Montreal, and basically like they want to win now. So think of like as if Steinbrenner was managing or coaching, or not coaching, running the Canadians, and was like, all right, Claude Julien, like, you got to go. Like, we're not winning. What happened to the win streak in the first 10 games? Like, you got to go. We need somebody else to come in here. And so Dominique Ducharme is going to be the new interim coach for now. We'll see how that goes. You know, some would have said, well, why didn't Kirk Muller, you know, take his place as interim or somebody else? And just to kind of give you guys a little background, Montreal is always a team that I don't know how to describe it. I guess kind of like an unwritten rule or unwritten type deal where the coach pretty much is always going to be French because they're in Montreal, they're in Quebec, French-speaking province. Marc Bergevin, the general manager of the Canadians, and the Canadians ownership always want a French-speaking coach. That's just the way it is. That's the way they run things. Go ahead.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, I don't like it because, you can't just have one type of head coach. Now, what if there's somebody better who has statistically a better better resume, better coaching style, but because, and again, it's not anything against French speakers or the Quebec province, not at all. I do get the cultural significance. The coach always had and still has a very close connection with the fan base of Montreal. So I get it. They wanted to, you know, they want to be different from Toronto and the rest of Canada. There's always rumors, too, that they wanted to form their own country separate from Canada. They didn't even want to be part of Canada, but that's another story for another day. But speaking on the ice, I don't know, because it's also limiting themselves, right? I mean, you're only limiting yourself to a certain type of a head coach. So
that I was gonna say too. That's why it's interesting, because what if a guy, and I'm speaking out of school here, but what if a guy like, you know, Barry, I'm just gonna use the name Barry Melrose. I don't know if he speaks French or not. But what if he says, hey, I think I can fix the Canadians? They won't sign him because he doesn't speak French. What if he's the missing link for you to make the Stanley Cup Finals or to make a run? Or it seems like you're pigeonholing yourself. Oh, we only want this, so we only want that. It's the same thing with the Maple Leafs in a sense. It's kind of weird. Like, oh, we want all Canadian guys. We want to
all Ontario-born guys, all Toronto-born guys, Mississauga. Yeah. Absolutely.
I get it, but that's a little weird. Like it's a little weird.
Like pigeonholing yourself to, you couldn't get somebody potentially better. Not that listen, Michel Therrien, Claude Julien, he won a Stanley Cup with the Bruins. But the reason too, I feel they went after Claude Julien. At first I was shocked because one, he was the former coach of the Bruins, and then when he becomes the Canadiens head coach, you're like, well, goddamn, like that's kind of shocking. But he speaks French. He's from the province. He's played for Montreal. Actually, I'm not sure about that. He did coach Montreal in the past. So
it feels like it's very, very like we feel like we're better than everybody else. So we've been doing it this way for so long that we're gonna keep doing it this way because we're better than you, and that's how we feel about it. That's what it feels like to me. Big Dog, do you get the same vibe or no?
I mean, I'm not gonna go there, but they
feel
their own type of culture. They don't. What's that?
But it kind of feels that way though, doesn't it? I'm not trying to I'm not throwing any shots.
No, it does sound like that. Yes.
Just by you talking about it and you explaining it and you breaking it down, that feels like, hey, we're better than you. So we're gonna make ourselves. We only want the people we want that speak French, that do this. And it's like what the other guys around the league that are knowledgeable
speaks French. So it's a whole. It goes down the line of.
That's kind of pompous. That's the word I'll use. Pompous. That's kind of pompous and arrogant.
And even on the ice, though, like you try and plug in. Listen, Jake Allen, I think, is a great addition, solid backup. He won a Stanley Cup with St. Louis a couple of years ago. I can't believe that was a couple of years ago already. Corey Perry, another old man River. Tyler Toffoli, who has been on fire this year. But again, it's one of those situations where you're trying to just plug in, oh, we'll get this guy. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be great.
Right. And you use a great comparison.
In the end, but if we were in a normal year with the Bostons, the Tampas, they're not making Toronto, they're not making the playoffs. But again, now it's interesting. That's the other factor. Just to Toronto for a quick second, like how good would Toronto be if they were in a division with, Tampa Bay, Boston as per usual?
Right. Would they be as good as they are? Right.
Because they are, oh my, like Austin Matthews, people think he's going to score like 50 goals. Mind you, it's only 56-game season. I could see he's on pace for it. I mean,
how many goals does he have now?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. But I believe he passed 20, I believe.
Well, hot damn.
I know on the show I read last show, he had 18, I believe.
And he scored 2 more since?
I believe. Again, don't quote me on it, but
wow.
The guy is scoring at a very, very, very high rate right now.
How?
They didn't even reach double-digit losses. Like they're on fire.
What?
They're really teams in that division. They're all good teams, but they're not at Toronto.
But it's like I feel like they're playing the JV. Like there's no disrespect.
Ottawa stinks, although Ottawa's given them fits this year.
Jesus.
Calgary's good. Edmonton, it's only a 2-man show with Draisaitl and McDavid. Montreal now is in a transition, so it's like, yeah, Toronto's going to run away with the division. I mean, they already are at this
Gonna.
Goddamn.
Holy.
A little bit. A little bit.
Your man's on the way to a 50, boy, again. There's only 56 games. Like, wait a minute. Hold up. Wait. Oh, my Lord.
Let's go back to L.A. The Kings on a 6-game winning streak, if you could believe it. 2 of those wins came against the St. Louis Blues. Yup. Yeah, the Kings have been on a tear. And if you think about it, they really got nothing to lose. They have no expectations. That they were horrible last year, the year before that as well. Yeah, they're on fire right now. They can be maybe one of those teams.
Fans Edge, that's funny. That's funny, Fans Edge. He's at 18 right now, but it's a Mickey Mouse division.
It's in a Mickey Mouse division.
That's funny. I like that.
No doubt about it. Okay, so he's still at 18. Thank you for checking that. I didn't want to give a definitive number, but I remember Monday I read he had 18. So he's still on 18.
Oh,
but
how? Yeah, that means wow. Like, even if you score 30 goals in a season like this, it's 56 games. It's like that's nothing compared to wow. That's incredible. I think he likes his old Canadian setup. I think he's for it.
I think he wants to. There have been discussions, but there's no way they're going to do it every year. So yeah, the Kings on a roll. Dustin Brown, Old Man River playing amazing. Jonathan Quick looking like circa 2012, 2014. Jonathan Quick.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought he was on the downturn when we spoke about him. Like maybe like for a couple months ago, you felt like he was on the downturn. But
maybe he was starting to he heard the criticism and was like, "Oh,
I'm 90. I can watch this."
Yeah, he was making split saves, rolling around. Yeah, vintage Jonathan Quick.
Listen, I don't want any of that. My back will hurt. Just thinking about that. My back will hurt. Just trying
very
to get.
Good news with Henrik Lundqvist. He practiced for the first time the other day since surgery. So very happy to see him back on. He looked good. Yeah. So that must mean he's feeling good and he's keeping healthy. So that's a good sign.
I don't think he plays this year, though, no. Does he play this year, you think, or no?
No, I don't think. He already opted out this year, and I think he's just going to take this year to recoup and practice a ton and just rest. Because just because with the surgery, you still don't want to take the chance. Like, I guess the doctors say, like, practice is fine, but I don't know if they want him playing in full games because goalies, could get knocked into and
right.
Everywhere and
right. Yeah.
So,
hey, but that's great news that he's on the road to recovery. That's awesome.
Yeah, because that was scary when we first heard about having a heart condition. So that's no joke. Yeah, couple of big games tonight. You got the Penguins Capitals again. They've been playing a lot lately.
I'm surprised they haven't gotten to like this big brawl.
Yeah, not yet. And just from watching the 2 games that they played against us, they definitely. I mean, they always give us, a tough game. But they're winning. And I think that new management that's come in now, I think you got to show, right? You got to kind of like step up and go, all right, like we got new management. Let's kind of, hurry it up here.
You want to make sure your spot is solidified for yourself. You want to make sure you got a roster spot next year.
Yeah, because with Brian Burke and Ron Hextall, they can make moves. They can, again, it's not like they have a relationship with any of these guys. So, You know, they'll be like you. They'll just, yeah, you got to go. If you have a few bad games, got to go. Would you do that or not? Like, if you were in their position, right? Would you just, like, the first season, would you, like, just assess the situation in the team? Or would you be making deals right away and kind of...
Nah, you gotta look. You gotta give yourself a year. You gotta give yourself a year. You can't just.
Excuse me. Even if you could be a playoff team, great run. I knew that was coming.
Okay, well, define playoff team. Are we talking about like fringe playoffs? Are we talking about a legit run? Where
I mean, I left them at. I think they're gonna get the 5th spot. I think they're gonna be just on that fringe. So,
I don't know. I
Crosby and Malkin still playing great. Sound like they've declined.
I'd wait and see. Thank you for the like, Mike. Appreciate it. I'd wait and see from the standpoint that you don't really know the extenuating circumstances to each of the rosters. Like players may be in a contract year, so they might want to be able to say, "Oh, I want to play. I'm playing for my next contract," or you might have a younger roster that's trying to find itself. There's a lot of extenuating circumstances that come into I want to rebuild an entire roster. It's kind of hard to say. I get your point, but I think I'd wait it out just from the standpoint that you want to see what you have, first of all, before you make any drastic decisions, because you don't want to be the guy that trades away the next superstar or the guy that trades away, in your situation, Roberto Luongo, or Zdeno Chara, or guys like that. I mean,
you can go through the entire list of Mike Milbury's reign at the Islanders.
No, I'm just saying I use those two names as an example of why you might have to wait. Unless in your head, unless in your mind, you already have an idea of, okay, I want to trade this player for this player. And it's, unless you want to do something to that standpoint, then that's a little different. But I necessarily believe that you're welcome, man. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. You're welcome. Thank you for the kind words.
I mean,
I mean, he's the greatest goalie in Flyer history, Kate. It definitely was shocking, but apparently there was bad blood between them when they fired him, when the Flyers fired Ron and Berkey too. Brian Burke played in their minor league system. I mean, back way back. So both of them technically kind of former Flyers. Yeah, and me and Stefan discussed it. I already know the first Pittsburgh-Philly game at Wells Fargo Center in South Philly. We already know the boos, the cursing, the whatever names they're gonna call them. Yeah, forget about it. Not gonna be
Yeah.
But they should be, especially Hextall. He's definitely expecting it. No, I mean he knows what's coming.
Oh yeah. You don't go to the enemy camp and not expecting some verbal harpoons to be thrown your way. Oh yeah, he's gonna
verbal harpoons. I never.
Yeah, he's gonna get what we like to say on the show as a nice evisceration. That's gonna happen.
Oh, definitely.
Oh. A Christmas card with nice verbal language on it.
No, I agree, Caleb, but I don't know. I would be pissed off too if I was a Flyer fan. No doubt about it.
Especially because the if he's the best goalie in Flyer history, that's.
And he said in an interview he wanted to go to Pittsburgh. His father was a former Penguin.
Well, hot damn.
Yeah. Ronnie, when you go to Philly, buddy, because They're gonna want to throw
workout.
whether at the bus, wherever you come in the stadium, your car, because they're gonna be looking for you.
He's gonna go out. And it's gonna be pelted with eggs. And they might car, God forbid.
You know, they've done that to Santa before, so they'll.
I mean, yeah, well,
they'll do it to Ron Hextall. I mean,
right. I mean, you know, we gotta understand these guys are competitive guys too, and if things ended off bad in Philly, I can see where I'm a bit vindictive. I think I want to do the same thing, just to prove a point that hey, you see where I come from, because Big Dog, you know I'm petty like this. They do me wrong, I'm going to Pittsburgh. And I'm trying to win a cup, and I'm shoving it in your neck. Like, you know me, I'm vindictive that way. But that's me. Not everybody is competitively driven to be that vindictive, but I'm definitely vindictive. You know this.
I'd really love to see another Flyers Penguin series. Like, oh my god.
I gotta be honest.
But I don't know
if I'm the biggest hockey enthusiast in the world, but I definitely watched that series.
Yeah, I would rush home for those games.
I mean, we're not going anywhere, so you'll already be home.
Oh man, I remember I remember a few years ago when you're like, "You fraudulent bastard," because that was when the Mets were on their like 11-game win streak in 2018. Remember that? And like the beginning. And you're like, you're really rushing home for Flyers. You're not going to watch a baseball team? I'm like, it's playoff hockey, Flyers Penguins. Of course I'm going to watch it. He's like,
you make me sick. I told him that.
Like, listen, I'm a hockey guy. What do you want from me?
Whoa, yeah. Whoa.
If he ever did that, he will never be forgiven.
Whoa.
Right? You will never be forgiven for that. I mean,
listen, to quote the great Silvio. Whoa.
Oh,
what's the matter with you?
What's the matter? What's the matter with you?
Anyway,
let's
end this thing on a high note. There's fans back in arenas now. This is good.
Yes, the Islanders, though, won't be letting people in until next month. They're not doing it yet. And season ticket holders, of course, are going to get first dibs on tickets. They're going to have first responders at the first game. Well, of course, definitely have to do that. And a big game tonight against Boston. Boston's the only team. We're the only team that has beaten them in regulation. So trying to keep that streak going tonight, it's going to be hard. But, you know, listen, we've had success against Boston the first two games, and I'm really looking forward to a hard-hitting, hard-attack game tonight. I could see us winning like 4-3, like a one-goal type, you know, down to the very, very end, where my heart palpitations are going to be times like 20.
Oh.
And, you know, because you want to beat them. You want to beat Boston. You want to beat them.
What's up, brother? How are you, man?
Good to hear from you.
Oh, it's gonna be one of those nights. This guy.
Yeah, you know it. And it's against the Bruins, so
don't worry, the Knicks are on tonight too, so it's gonna be a hard night for me too.
Who do you guys got?
Sacramento.
They're bad though, right?
Yeah, but they're young and they're athletic, and for some reason
you can't just.
Young teams like coming into MSG, so I'm not taking anything for granted. But before we get out of here, because I do think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention this. Thoughts and prayers to Tiger Woods.
Yes,
Get well
absolutely.
soon. That crash, that it looked devastating. Hopefully,
Yeah, you guys got shellacked.
damn MP, that's savage, bro.
There's a winning tonight, MP. Wilder's a winning tonight. Let's go. You like to stir the pot, huh? MP22. I see how it is.
Wow. Ooh. I agree.
Stefan was devastated. I called him. He had the hands in his face. Like, I'm like, are you all right? He goes, the Knicks lost the heartbreaker.
Jesus, man. Tied with like 3 minutes left. What does Curry do? Comes down. It's a three. And I'm like,
I think you said that was going to happen, too. Like, watch Curry's going to have the game.
yeah, of course.
You're good
Sick
at
as a dog.
things, the game results.
Sick as a dog. Anybody else would have been probably out with a headache or migraine. Hey, it's MSG. It's the Garden. Papa Advil. Like, we're out there. Like,
we'll be all right.
Jesus. Oh, man. But thoughts and prayers to Tiger Woods.
Yes.
Get well soon, because this is bigger than golf.
Absolutely.
This is about him functioning as a human being. So he's lucky to be alive, man, after something like that. So you don't want to take it for granted. I don't know, man. Just puts things in perspective, I guess. You know what I'm saying? We sit here on this show and we critique athletes and we talk about what they need to do better and how they need to be better as players. And then you see something like that and you're like, yeah, maybe we kind of got to gain some perspective.
Okay, how
So,
guys?
See,
Thank
Caleb,
you.
watching.
Yeah, it almost happened the other day. He almost banked in a three.
Against the Knicks, he probably go 10 for 10.
By the way, oh no! So he pulls up from the hash mark, hits a three off the backboard. I'm like, Jesus! No one all luck. Anyway, that's actually gonna wrap us up. We're done for the day. Big Dog, you got anything else?
That's it, man.
Hey, man, it's a wrap. This was fun. Big
Yes.
Dog, guess what time we came in today? We came in, the show is 57:55. We're gonna end at the 58-minute mark. So this was good.
But God was merciful. Yeah.
Take Curry out the game with Widow. Yeah, pigs fly too. Pigs definitely fly.
All right, I gotta go now. Deal with this. Gotta
Breathe.
watch the game. I'm super amped and I'm nervous.
Deep breaths. You'll be okay. Deep breaths. You don't need deodorant. You just had a big dinner.
Yeah, too late for that.
All right, buddy. Love you.
Love you too, man.
Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Back and bigger and better than ever. Have a